hope all is well. I hope all of you are doing great. I missed you guys. Sorry I took another hiatus. Had some business to tend to. Took a little vacation, but now I am back home. Things are back to normal, and I hope to jump into the swing of things and start recording again. So here I am. I appreciate you all for waiting on me. And if you are new here, welcome to the channel. I would be glad to have you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to keep up with me and everybody else. And if you're returning, I appreciate you guys so much. Every day we climb. So I think the last time I checked we were at 575. So slowly but surely. But this week's video is going to be about the Speedy 40. I know you guys have heard me talk about this bag before. She's had a little renovation here lately. If you follow me on Instagram, you're familiar with what I'm talking about. So just a couple weeks ago, I actually got this bag back in my possession from the Louis Vuitton store. I had total Vachetta replacement on the outside. And when I say that, I'll show you the difference. So I bought this bag from the Let Go app, if you're familiar, 2 years ago. This is a Speedy 40 classic style from 1983. It had been very well loved throughout its life, but it had also been taken care of. So I got 2 good solid years of use out of the bag without any issue. And I tried to take care of it as best I could. The old leather, I conditioned it, you know, I babied it, but it was really old. So I waited a while and I weighed my options on which would be the better case for me. To have the Vachetta replaced on this bag or to replace it altogether. And I'm a sentimental person, so when I bought this bag, it was my first authentic vintage piece. I loved it. I'm obsessed with the Speedy 40s. It's the best Speedy there is. It holds everything. It can be a personal bag, weekend bag, overnight bag, work bag, whatever the case. This fits the criteria. The only complaint is it doesn't have the bandeau strap, but that's fine. I just didn't think that it was appropriate to replace the entire bag and pay, you know, another shit ton of money for a brand new bag that will eventually do the same thing this one done. And, might I add, Louis Vuitton does not make canvas like they used to. If you can find canvas from the 70s and the 80s, even in the 90s, that was the best canvas. So I figured it would be better for me to hold on to a sentimental piece, but also invest into an investment piece, point blank period. We all are aware of the prices of these Speedies. I think the 40 goes for like upwards of around like 13 or 1400, I believe. And I know they change the prices every year. They're gonna raise. So yeah, it was just a smart decision for me to keep the same vintage body of the bag that is phenomenally sturdy and so high quality. Just to have the Vachetta replaced. So I am in Kentucky, if you didn't know. So the nearest store for me is in Indianapolis. So that's about 2.5 hours away. So it's doable. It's not your ideal distance to have to shop, but you know, it's worth it if you're an LV fan and you're an LV lover. So I took a trip up there, I think maybe 2 weeks ago. And I visited the Louis Vuitton store in the Saks Fifth, so it's a very small boutique kind of setup, it's totally fine. They have everything that you would want or need. My sales associate Tyler was awesome, very helpful, accommodating. So I took this up there. They do request that you bring the original dust bag, and they evaluate the bag. They conversate with you about your goals and what you would like to see or be done to the bag. So, as I spoke to Tyler, I told him I was such a fan of the old body of the bag, and I wanted to keep the bag for another 30 years if that was possible. To me, this is probably going to be like a family heirloom of mine that I'm going to hand down because it was that, you know, it's that special to me. I love this bag. So he suggested that we could do the main parts, like the zipper pull, the handles, and everything else would have been okay. And I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go big or go home, right? So I got some information on pricing about what it would be to replace all the Vachetta. And when I say all, I mean all the outer parts. So we're talking both handles, all 4 chaps, the zipper pull, both tabs at the end of the bag and all the piping on both sides. I left the interior leather original because there was nothing wrong with it. And I love, love, love the color. That vintage honey color patina is so phenomenally gorgeous, and it's so soft. I just wanted that to stay the same as a reminder how old the bag is and how far she's come. So when we talk money, it's going to vary depending on the condition of your bag, what you want replaced, and what exactly Louis Vuitton is willing to repair. I will say, if there are cracks in your canvas, more than likely they are not going to touch the bag, so keep that in mind. But if your canvas is good to go, then they should have no problem replacing anything. The typical wait time for Vachetta replacement is 6 to 8 weeks. It varies. Mine took 4 weeks, so that was awesome. I was really surprised that it was done a lot sooner than usual. But anyways, so all my outer leather pieces on this bag to be replaced cost me $541 even. And it was, like I said, 4-week wait, which wasn't bad. I got it back home just before vacation, so I was able to use it and pack with it. So let's add these numbers up here really quick while I'm thinking about it. So I purchased this bag 2 years ago for $300. I thought that was a hell of a deal considering this is the biggest Speedy there is. These things are not popular in general, especially here in Kentucky, so I figured $300 was a steal. So then you add on the $541. Where does that put us? That puts us at $841. That's like almost half the price of a new one, but you're getting the old school quality. The quality is unmatchable these days, you guys. That's why I always say, if you can get your hands on an authentic pre-loved or vintage piece, that's the way to go, because this shit's not made like it used to be anymore at all. So yeah, I figured $841 in on a bag that's from 1983, and it looks brand new. Like, there's literally nothing wrong. There is not a flaw one on this bag. So I was super pleased. Now, to mention the differences that I noticed upon picking the bag up, might I add, when you take your bags in for Vachetta replacement and you pick them up, they do offer you a brand new dust bag, and they also give you a shopping bag to go with the experience. So it's almost like you're going in and buying a new bag, which is, I thought was really cool. I didn't have to ask for anything. They do tell you to take your lock and keys out or away from the bag and keep those because they don't replace those. I don't know if those are an additional charge or not. I didn't ask because I still have the original, so it was kind of pointless for me. But, so for the differences, the piping on the edges and the alignment is exactly the same as how it was when I took the bag in. The chaps are exactly the same. So depending on the style, the age of your bag, they are going to do the repairs accordingly. So because this was an old school style Speedy with the flat chaps and the stitching under the rivets, that's exactly how they done the replacements. Flat chaps, stitching under the rivet. Stitching is consistent, stitching looks good. They replaced all of my hardware, so this is all brand new brass hardware. The only thing they left original was the zipper, because the zipper was in perfect shape. There was nothing wrong with it. I just wanted a new tab. And I just took Brasso to the zipper, cleaned it up. I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, the age on that zipper, but to be like 40 years old, almost, this thing is in great shape. That's what I say about the old school hardware. You can't get any better than that, you guys. But as for the differences, I can tell, and me and Stephanie talked about this before. I know you all follow her because she's the bomb. The leather just feels different. It doesn't feel as raw and as like textured as it used to. So my initial reaction is how I should say it. It felt different. I don't want to say cheap because it didn't feel cheap, but it definitely felt different. It felt like it had been coated with something. It just didn't feel as smooth and as soft as raw, natural leather would. It almost felt like a tad waxy, if that makes sense. But come to find out, Steph brought it to my attention that the Louis Vuitton bags now have treated Vachetta, and it helps resist water stains, watermarks, scuffs, scratches, oil and dirt from your hands within the handles. So nowadays, the Vachetta is going to stay nicer longer. I don't think it affects the patina process. I could be wrong. I'm still very fresh into this one. I have treated it. I have not taken olive oil to this yet because I do not want to. So I've just done like a wet rag wipe down and then let that dry and do my conditioning and the suntan. So I'm going to try to do this one as natural as possible. I don't want to speed it up. But I think everything looks awesome. I know the color difference in the glazing, I'm not sure if it's varied or not. This isn't super red. It's almost got like a burnt chestnut color to it. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's different than brand new bags now, or if it was different than the original glazing that was on here. Like I said, when I got the bag, it was older, so the glazing was almost, not necessarily non-existent, but it definitely had no more shine, and it had worn. I mean, you could see the seam of where the leather met because the glazing was so worn. But, I mean, it was super old, so I think this looks sharp. This glazing, it almost makes my mouth want to water. Like, it's gorgeous. And they done a really good job with it. I think everything looks phenomenal. All the indentions were super consistent. Everything was straight. I don't know how to act having a brand new zipper tab. Like, this thing right here is like probably my favorite piece. When I first got the bag, it did have the original one, and it probably stayed on for about a year. And then it started to crack right under this brass rivet, and eventually it just like, it sagged off, it ripped, and that was the end of it. So that was the determining factor of why I got the bag done, because my zipper pull came off, my handles started to crack right at the crook, and this little tab over here at the end that holds your lock, it was like severely stretched from years of a lock hanging. I'm a fan of storing my lock on that tab, so eventually this is going to do the same thing. It's a part of the process. Oh well, to me, is the way that I look at it, because if I don't put the lock here, then I put the lock right here on this little ring of the handle, and then I notice that it adds weight to the front, and then it kind of just like slouches down or pulls the handle. I didn't like that, so I keep my lock there. To each their own. As long as you keep your lock cleaned and your leather conditioned, it should delay the process of sagging or wrinkling or rippling or whatever you're concerned of, or even tarnish from the lock. Not that big of a deal. That's what it was made for. And another difference that I wanted to mention too is the fact that their stamping is different. So all the bags that go in for repair, I'm not sure if they all go to California, but that's where mine was sent. So they sent this to California. They had it for 4 weeks, like I said. This bag was originally made in France, and I never really asked this question upon dropping it off if the stamping would change. I didn't really think about it. I didn't think it would. I figured they would stamp the bag again according to the country that it was made in. But seeing as though that the leather has been replaced in the United States, the stamp no longer says made in France. It just says Louis Vuitton, Paris. That kind of bothered me at first, but then again, it's not a big deal. This was an authentic repair. I mean, you don't get any better than a certified Louis Vuitton craftsman to do this stuff. So they know what they're doing. This is how they do it. So keep that in mind. If your bag says made in USA and you have a repair, you're going to lose the country of origin. Regardless if it's France, Spain, Italy, United States, whatever, you're probably going to lose the country of origin in your stamping, but you still get the brand stamp. All the stitching, the color, I love that yellow color. It's not super bright, but it's not very pale either. I don't know, I was just really pleased with the way that they handled the entire process. And who better to take your bags to than the company that made it, is the way that I felt. So, I'm going to pull this interior pocket out, and I'm going to show you that original leather. It's almost so dark it matches the lining. And this is that old school lining too. It's just really textured, it's really durable. This is like the best shit they ever used. But there is the original leather. That beautiful yellow stitching and that honey color is to die for. So I kept it because it's soft. It's my favorite shade. And I just wanted to keep it as a comparison to the new. Do you guys see that? This shit is like pale. It's not nearly as pale as it was when I picked it up from the store, but it's pretty white compared to the pocket lining. I also kept the interior rivet pieces of leather natural. There was no sense in replacing those and paying for something nobody's gonna see. And I also kept the other side the exact same way. The date code is still there. It's very faint, but it's still there. So it reads VI, France, and then 883. So this is the 8th week of 1983. So this beauty, she's old, she's been around, she has seen lots, and then I just revamped her. She's brand new. I mean, she's got a whole nother life to live now. With all this new leather, I carry this bag proudly because it's a piece of history to me, and then now it's going to be around even longer. Those are the cool pieces, or those are the cool parts about owning these pieces. They last forever, and you can do these things with them. You know, you can renew them and keep them forever. There's no sense in wasting money and continuing to rebuy the same things when you can just invest in the pieces you already have. And I think that was Louis Vuitton's original intent on his pieces' longevity, but now you know how it's all based on seasons and how often things come out and who's the hottest with the newest shit. Never been me. I can't keep up with the trends, and it's almost impossible to do so. So I like buying older pieces, and if they need an investment like new Vachetta, I'm down for it. The next one that is gonna get the new Vachetta is the vintage Noe right here. She's put up in her dust bag. I try to keep her up, and I haven't used her in a while because the leather's so old now. She's on reserve. I'm letting her rest. But I just figured I wanted to hop on here and do this video because I haven't seen a lot of videos where people talk about their Vachetta replacement experience. I had no issues. Literally, my only complaint was the 2.5 hour drive to the nearest Louis Vuitton store. But like I said, if you're that big of an LV lover, it's worth it and you would do it. And I'm going to do it again. My other regret was not waiting around to have it hot stamped, but I can always go back. So I'm planning in the very near future of making another trip to the store just to have this and my luggage tag hot stamped. It just gives it a little bit more personality and it makes it a little bit more personal. So I'm down for that. But other than that, I'm super pleased with the fact that I have pretty much a brand new Speedy 40. This was my favorite bag. This was my first bag, like my first vintage bag. I just love the old pieces. You know, you don't get that quality anymore. But with that being said, if there's anything that I did not cover, if there's anything that you wanted to ask, whatever the case, leave it in the comment section below and I will get to you as soon as I can. But yeah, guys, I think that's it. I covered everything that I wanted to. I'm glad to be back on here. I missed all of you guys, and I will chat with you all in the next one. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up, and I will see you soon. Bye!